You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
Hello, you beautiful souls, and welcome back to the Integration Station. I'm Naturally Ashley, your host, here with a special guest. Her name is Courtney Ross, and she's been on the show before talking about fitness and other health, healing, self-healing modalities. She's a really accredited woman. She does a lot. And I'm just going to bring her on so that she can share a bit of her background and also some of the certifications and things like that she's gathered over the years. I really want to dive in this episode into how it is that she's helping people really optimize on their health themselves and tapping into the body's natural healing abilities, because that is really the truth and the meat of it all. So without further ado, I'm just going to bring Courtney on and we can dive right into all of this. Hey, Courtney, thanks for being here. Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I guess first, welcome. And also, can you share with us, our audience here, a bit about yourself? What is it that you do in the healing space and how did you get here?
Well, I am mainly right now, I am a functional medicine practitioner and I own a fitness business. So I have always been fascinated by how the body functions and wanted to learn more. As I learn more, it just makes me more curious. So I feel like it's a never-ending quest for understanding the body, understanding how it functions. And when I spend time with clients, in the fitness space, it turned out that, they would have these ailments or injuries or whatever, and they were not getting satisfaction from seeing their doctor. They were not ending up out of pain or feeling better or getting answers. And, when I spend that much time with somebody, I wanted to be able to help them more. And so it just made me keep going and keep learning and try to figure out how to unravel, these health problems, these health issues that are really minor oftentimes, but can cause a big problem in somebody's life because it, makes them uncomfortable, whether they have an elbow issue or they have a gut problem or they get chronic headaches. In the grand scheme of things, they can be considered pretty minor, but if they mess with your quality of life, it matters.
Yeah. And part of chronic means this is consistent, ongoing. That takes a lot of quality off of your life. That takes away your willpower battery that fills up each day, that takes away patience and so many other things that really does hold people back. Anything that's chronic, and even if it is temporary and not chronic, sometimes can hold us back. If anybody's ever twisted an ankle or something before, that's temporary versus chronic, but it still puts a damper in your day. And just as it's an example, it's we can fix these kinds of things holistically. And this is one of the certificates that you've got, one of the things that you've really invested in your own journey was functional medicine, and you've become a functional medicine practitioner and a holistic wellness coach. Can you share a little bit about this journey?
Yeah, so it's kind of random. I mean, I was a very unhealthy kid. I had all sorts of health problems. I was always sick. I had my tonsils out, terrible allergies, all of that stuff. And when I look back now, I can say it's because my gut wasn't functioning well because of all the antibiotics I was put on. But at that time, nobody really talked about that. And I'm sure somebody knew about it, but nobody in my neck of the woods certainly knew about it. And so I suffered a lot as a kid, and I was very sick. And as I got older, I was like, something just doesn't seem right about that. I felt better as an adult, but I didn't know how to take care of myself properly as far as eating and stuff like that. And because I wasn't prone to being overweight, you think, well, I can just eat whatever I want. And so when I was modeling a lot in my 20s and 30s, I ate all sorts of garbage food, and I was like, oh, it's fine, I'll deal with it when I'm older. And now I look back and think about what I put in my body, and I was like, oh. And it's amazing I was as healthy as I was. And then, honestly, I ended up in a not so great relationship. And in an effort to help him, I started diving into natural ways to work on the body and mental health issues and all these things. And, once you turn over one stone and you find something interesting, you think, well, that's fascinating, but how could that be true? Because it flies in the face of everything that we've ever been taught or that we learned allopathically, or in the mainstream as we grow up or study, because, we're taught everything's fine. And when there's something wrong, you go to the doctor, you take a pill, and that fixes it. And that's it. Like that's all there is to it. And,
not always. Sometimes it's you're going to be on this pill for the rest of your life.
Oh, for sure. But they want you as a customer for life. You can do this on your own, or you can help yourself in some way. And so the more I started to kind of turn over those rocks and start to connect dots, I was like, well, wait a minute, there's something to this. And why isn't anyone talking about this? Like, why isn't this out there for everybody? And, it took me down one rabbit hole after another. And it has been such a fun journey. And it's been like drinking from a fire hose at times. But, I feel like the more I learn, the more I have the ability to help someone else, educate them, and help them see that they have so much power over their health and how they feel. And I feel like that's why I'm here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And I love that metaphor, because I actually, I came out to meet you and your partner in Ohio, and he is a firefighter. So that was a really great metaphor. Oh my God. I remember another time that you had me on, you had one about when you were training the boys and got in a conversation about vitamin D. My goodness. It's like all came back. But
yes. Yeah. And it was so fun to have you here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. And I love your way of working with words. I really appreciate that. And yeah, and you guys really are that fit couple, you in your house, in your routines, and I could even tell that it rippled out not just physical health, but this mental fitness as well. So it was really cool to see and be a part of that, and just experience you and your fullness in that moment. So.
And it really is everything. I mean, you can't have one without the other, and it's definitely easy to get off track or, have things that distract you or, whatever that looks like. But it's important to kind of find your center for those things, because the universe is always throwing something at us. And usually we find out after the fact it's for our benefit and for our growth, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. Mm-hmm. And, the more we know that, we have a set of habits or a structure in place to keep us sane. Most of mine is being in the gym. And, once you have that in place, you have you have your own kind of North Star. And it's important to have that to kind of keep you on track and guide you back when things start to go a little haywire.
Yeah. I'm curious, is this one of the reasons for your diverse, I guess, seek for holistic knowledge? Or, what inspired you to just really start collecting all the certificates? I like to make the joke of collecting them like they're Pokemon. But
yeah, I don't know about Pokemon. I think I'm too old for that. But, it really just became, I want to learn more. I am an avid student of the body. I never feel like I've learned enough. I have class tonight, as a matter of fact, because I want to learn more. And especially, I do a lot with nutrition, and there's a lot going on in the avenues of nutrition. There is no one diet for everybody. The way your body functions is a little bit different from the way someone else's body functions. If you have, genetic SNPs and they cause you to methylate differently, or, maybe you don't have the same liver function as somebody else. And so there's all sorts of little things that can cause you to need a little bit different diet than somebody else. And, the more I started to discover and learn that, the more I'm like, okay, well, just because I need to eat a certain way doesn't mean somebody else needs to eat a certain way. There are some universal principles, but, in order to really help somebody feel well, if it's not like simply, I want to lose weight, if they're having some sort of, pain issue or something else going on, you really need to kind of be versed in the nuance of diets to be able to help people kind of navigate through that. And usually there's hurdles, there's addictions around different types of food. There's emotional issues around food. Here in the States, I think it's probably fairly similar for you. For my generation, everything revolves around food. If there's a celebration, it's food. If you're sad, it's food. Everything is food. And the more food, then you really have to work hard to navigate that, because if you are trying to lose weight and you've been really strict, you've been good at eliminating something, and then you're like, okay, I want a reward. Well, the reward, it's a big food. Well, then you're back where you started. So there's a lot going on in that avenue, and I felt that there was a lot to explore. And it's really all just been a fascinating journey. And if I can pick up one tidbit, like one golden nugget, then it was worth it.
Yeah. Oh man, I so relate to that. Especially like the stuff about just a bio-individual diet. That's why it is that there's so many diet books. If everybody was meant to eat the same thing, guess what? There would be one. But there's not. There's so many, and there's so many people who've made so much money, and there's so many different diets. Like, I remember learning over 100 dietary theories, and that wasn't all of them. There's also the cabbage diet and the rainbow diet and like all of these other kinds of things, like just crazy. So, this is one of the things that is really unique and also really helpful with functional medicine, and having a functional medicine practitioner, a doctor that you're working with for anybody out there, any of our listeners here. And I'm curious if you could just run us through a little bit more about what it means to be a practitioner in functional medicine and what functional medicine is, because it is gaining popularity, but not everybody here is familiar with that term. So how does it differ from conventional medicine or what other people may be used to?
Well, a lot of people consider regular mainstream medicine or allopathic medicine as a pill for every ill. And one of the things that is potentially an issue with that is that they only get maybe 9 hours of nutrition training in all of medical school.
Yeah.
So when it comes to coaching someone or guiding a patient when they're sitting in front of them in the office on lifestyle changes and diet, do they really have the ability to do that? If they have not done their own work outside of that because of their own curiosities or because of their own desire to learn more.
Sometimes it's that they don't have the time, right? Like they're invested so much when they have to do other specialized trainings, but it's all bought by the board of pharmaceuticals who runs their educational board, and then they're indebted to that system and they work their asses off, but it's not exactly individualized. Like it's not in alignment with their goals when they wanted to help people before they got into medical school.
Yeah, I truly believe that 99% of doctors genuinely got into medicine because they wanted to help people. And if you're in allopathic medicine and you're in the insurance model, you have to see a certain number of patients every hour in order to, make any money. And they dictate how you do things, because if you want to be paid for something, they're the ones that are running the show.
Yeah.
Additionally, they spend so many hours, in their practice that the reps from Big Pharma come in and out and they explain, this is what we have and this is why it's so great and blah, blah, blah. And it all looks good. And they come in and they feed their office and this and that. And, again, like you said, they don't have the time because most of these people, they want to have a family, if they have kids, their kids are in sports or doing whatever, and they don't always have the time. And so I don't put, the blame on them. A lot of them are doing the best they can. And some of them really believe that that's the answer. And, okay. And everybody can make their own decision as to who they want to see for their health, which is, one of the lovely freedoms that we have. And, the road that I went down, and I'm not a doctor. So, if you get hit by a bus, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You have to go to the emergency room. But, if you have a chronic issue, if you don't feel quite right, if you've gone to the doctor and they said, oh, it's all in your head, you're fine, your labs are normal, and you still don't feel right, then I'm the person that you come see. Because, my goal is, number one, I can't prescribe, so I'm not going to put you on any drugs. Number two, I'm going to look at your lab results and take them from what is considered normal or conventional ranges and move them into optimal ranges. And, for every roughly 10,000 samples a lab gets, those reference ranges change. So in different areas of the country, you might have different reference ranges for the same marker because the population is different. And, that still doesn't change the optimal, which should be right here. And my goal is to teach people what is optimal. And once they get outside of that optimal range, to then let them know what the indications are for that. And sometimes it's low-hanging fruit as a B vitamin deficiency or a magnesium deficiency or low stomach acid or something like that. And teach them how to get back to optimal. And, as simple as it sounds, and it really is very simple, it's not easy, but it's simple. The vast majority of disease process is caused by not enough nutrients and too many toxins. And that's really the bottom line. I mean, our body is overburdened with what's in our water, our environment, and our food. And, a lot of our soils are depleted. We're not getting the same nutrients we were 50 years ago from a piece of celery or a carrot. And, once you have toxins in your body and they're blocking those cell receptor sites and they're getting in the way, now your body's going to start to go offline a little bit. And that's when you start to notice some of these issues, the fatigue, the brain fog. We were not designed by God to feel like crap when we hit a certain age and live in a nursing home for 20 years. If our bodies are functioning the way they should, then, there is some age-related decline, but, you go to bed one day and then you just don't wake up and it's peaceful and you feel good the whole time. And we couldn't be further from that right now.
Yeah. And if you follow the money or anything like that, it's easy to see what's like actually happening here, and that it was long before this actual moment. It coming back to that that freedom piece. There is, we do have the freedom to make these decisions, and it's not about one side or the other. It's about having the freedom to build our own team, to take responsibility for our own health, to do our own research on what's out there, because not everybody can do that for you, and it's not for everybody to do that for you. And you're a prime example of that. You've included so much, not only for yourself, but able to ripple this out into other areas, and you're making a good living at it, like for yourself, which
well, that's just it. I mean, you are your own best advocate. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of things that I've done a 180 on, and since I've gone down this road and learned more, because I was the person like, oh, I'm supposed to take a pill, okay. But if you think about it, none of us have a headache because we have an Advil deficiency. It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And so, what's really going on? If you have a headache, your brain is inflamed. Okay, why? What's going on? Are you dehydrated? Is it something else? I mean, so there's some things that are so simple, but we just don't know sometimes to look at the most simple option. And, like I said, our bodies will do their very best to keep us in homeostasis, to keep us healthy and level. And that's where sometimes people will wake up and say, well, yesterday I was fine, and now I just woke up one day and I didn't feel good. That may be true, but that's not what your body's going to say. You know what I mean? Your body had been working hard and working hard and working hard until your bucket overflowed, and then you didn't feel so hot. And so the idea is, to keep that bucket as empty as possible so that when there is a stressor or there's something going on, your body can take it on, let it go, and you can go back to how you were. That's
kind of like metabolizing it, right? You know, instead of the stored toxins that you were talking about before, because that's on like kind of what fat is, you know, for anybody who's on that weight loss journey. It's that there's too many toxins that are out there, and our livers can only handle so much. So then when we're eating in excess or in a really unhealthy environment, or, you know, going for comfort foods because you're feeling uncomfortable in your environment, then your body already can't process all of that. So it's like, okay, I'm on overload. I'm going to store this for later, this for later, this for later. And then people go on a weight loss journey or a detox or something, and they feel like crap because all of that was stored is now coming out. But there comes this point once it's out where it is you can stay clear, where you can then start metabolizing again, where your body's in complete flow instead of like store this and then later on have to work double as hard or feel sick later on or anything like that. Is going through that process.
There's so many different types of toxins, and there's different toxins that get stored in different places. So yes, there are toxins that get stored in fat, and there's plenty of people out there that will eat properly, but you know, they can't lose weight. And so what's going on there? You know, some of that is if your body is toxic and you have these fat soluble toxins in your body, and your body is using that fat as protection, it is not going to let you release those fat cells and put those toxins back in the body because now they've been sequestered. So there is a certain way that you need to go about doing that if that's your problem. You know, but the liver is so easily overburdened. That's why there's so many women that have issues with heavy periods or painful periods or menopausal issues and all these things, because if the liver's overburdened, then your body is recycling that estrogen. Those things should be leaving the body. You know what I mean? It should be processed through and leave. And so many people have a hard time getting rid of things because biliary stasis is a huge problem. And, you know, if your liver is clogged, if your gallbladder isn't, you know, secreting the bile when it's supposed to, and you don't have enough of it and it's sludgy, that causes a whole host of problems. And that's something that's actually pretty easy to fix. And it's a huge, huge problem for lots of people.
Yeah. And I think that that's a problem that kind of ripples out in different areas of life too. You know, talking or just like coming full circle here, bringing it back to our body's natural ability to heal itself. Could you just elaborate a bit more on that? That way we're going to go to break in a little bit, but then anybody who's watching the show or listening in has something to really think over and even meditate on during that break.
Sure. You know, God created us to be healthy. He didn't create us to have all these problems. And those are things that have shown up in our environment over time. And, you know, our bodies can get overburdened. But if we can get rid of those things, our bodies will heal itself. It's been proven time and time again. It's something that with this class that I'm taking, the doctor that I'm studying with, he calls it the tincture of time. And basically that means the time that it takes for whatever part of your body to regenerate itself. So, you know, I can give somebody certain herbs to fix a problem, but there's still that natural regeneration process that has to happen in the body. And the body is always striving for that. As long as we're alive, our body is striving to regenerate, striving to be healthy. And once we remove those things, your energy can come back. And, you know, there's people that have all sorts of chronic issues that can be resolved, autoimmune diseases that can go into remission, because our bodies are designed to be healthy. And it's just about removing those things. And, you know, there's different ways to remove different things, but it starts with what we put in our bodies and the energy from clean organic foods, things you grow on your own, as opposed to buying something out of a box. There's no good energy in, you know, a box of whatever from the store. But if you went outside and you grew something, whatever, maybe it's tomatoes, maybe it's peppers, maybe it's corn, you know, if you grow something and you bring it inside and eat it, you know that you helped to create that. You know what I mean? And you're going to get so much more nutrition and so much more benefits from eating like that than you will out of, something dead out of a box. And that goes for meat too. Some people eat meat and some people don't. But is the animal treated humanely? Was the animal grass-fed and grass-finished, or did it eat, glyphosate-covered grains? How was that animal treated? What was the state of that animal, before, it was turned into a bounty for someone to eat? You know what I mean? Do we think about that animal? Are we grateful for the food that we have? All of those things, that energy transfers into us.
Yeah, absolutely it does. That tension that an animal feels, or that fear, it ripples out into the rest of humanity. Like, we see it. And a lot of people are feeling that right now. You hit on a couple more things too about, just how far, like, the butcher and the farm and all of that is from a lot of people's plates. And in addition, another thing that isn't being done is like that gratitude, without us seeing it or being that close to it or being part of that, if you're not a part of it, it's then taking that time to be as grateful just doesn't happen. There used to be like a grace around a dinner table. There used to be that for food in general. Like, oh my God, thank you. A lot of people were like literally starving, right. And now in these areas, like us being in North America, it's like there's a lot of abundance. Yes, there's a nutrition issue where a lot of the food is frankenfood, dead food, and doesn't have a lot of nutrition. So it's kind of like a silent, I don't even know, like famine, I guess. Just a really quiet, kind of like our silent depression right now. But, there's a lot to go into here. And I guess my ask from you guys, you listeners here, is during this break, think about some techniques that you could incorporate to bring some humanity back to your plate and enjoy some foods that are really nourishing for you. What are some places that you could go to that would be more nourishing? What are some things that you could grow or are growing that you could share with your neighbors? Just those kinds of things. And then, of course, just bringing it back to gratitude. I'm going to share our sponsors now because I'm also really grateful for them. And I'm grateful for you also, Courtney. We'll have you right back to dive into some more of this holistic health stuff. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you a cannabis content creator? Are you looking for a place to have your content seen? If you answer yes to both questions, then you need to check out cbgtv.com. CBG TV, broadcasting to a worldwide audience. Find us at cbgtv.com.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from, the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, Courtney, welcome back.
Hey.
The rest of you listeners, welcome back as well. So Courtney's been sharing with us some stuff about functional medicine, and I'd really like to dive into another modality. This one's really unique that I know nobody else is into, actually, I can say. And this is holistic iridology. So what is this? Like, how is it special? Like, what can an eye actually tell us about our health?
You'd be surprised what the eye can tell you about your health. It's really fascinating. Holistic iridology is the study of the anterior surface of the eye. So what that means is the iris, like the actual colored part of your eye. There's a place where I take clients and there's a camera and a microscope set up, and I take a very high resolution close-up picture of their eye. And from there, I can see trauma from 5 or so generations back. I can see predispositions for health issues. I can see digestive dysfunction. You could see if they have biliary stasis. There's all sorts of things you can see. And the left side of the eye is from the maternal side, and I should say the left side of the left eye is the maternal side, and the right eye is the paternal side. So what you have in each eye is received from, each individual parent. And it's really very fascinating. And what makes it holistic is more than just being able to look and say, you could be predisposed to X, Y, Z, is that every organ system in the body is connected to an emotion. And sometimes there's the emotional component is what's causing the physical problem. So, if someone is holding on to anger, maybe they're having a liver issue. There's all sorts of things, like if you have unresolved grief, or, if, there was trauma at birth, there's all sorts of things that can be seen in the eye. And it's something that, as I studied more and more and was giving people, like doing, iris reports for people, and, there are people I don't know. So I don't, this is what I see. And, when I get on the phone with them afterwards and let them know what I've seen, and they're opening up to me and telling me like what's happened in their life, or, what's going on, or, oh my gosh, this happened to me, or, whatever it is, or I'm dealing with this, that, or the other. It's mind blowing to me how accurate it is. And I never would have thought. It's something that fascinated me. There is a chart. Obviously it's round because the eye is round, and it's like tiny little pie pieces that correspond to each part of the body through the iris. And they're small, they're little slivers, and it's, looking at, the way the fibers of the eye are constructed, and all sorts of things. And when you when you start to see that those things can mean something, and when you look at the eye up close, I've never not been in awe of how beautiful the eye is. You know, it's like a fingerprint because they're all different. And one of the most interesting things that I've learned on that process is everybody has blue eyes. You know, whatever color your eyes appear outwardly, underneath, they're blue. So, you know, and that's called lymphatic. So if you have blue eyes, that's called the lymphatic eye. And if you have brown eyes, that's hematogenic. And that is basically just a lot of melanin pigment that is over the top of the iris. And then if you have hazel or green eyes, that's called biliary. And I've never not been in awe of looking at somebody's eyes when I'm photographing them, or, you know, I'm doing the report, or, you know, you see something and you're like, wow, I wonder if they've experienced, you know, whatever I'm seeing, you know, potential for, you know, as far as an emotional state. And, you know, it's kind of like gives you such a sense of empathy because everybody's been on their own journey, you know, or something that was passed down to them that, you know, maybe a parent or a grandparent went through, and the physical predisposition it could give someone else, you know, because it just goes to show, you know, I mean, when your grandmother had your mother, you know, those eggs that were in your mother, that's where you came from. And so you could see how things can be related. And if you know, think about the fact that everything is energy, you know, it really does make sense. You know, I mean, you could feel if somebody who's vibrant and light walks into a room, but you can also feel, you know, really heavy energy if someone with bad intentions or, you know, whatever comes into a room. Like, you could feel the difference. So as far as I'm concerned, all that's very real.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so beautiful in a world right now where people feel like they're connected, but really what they're looking at is like a phone. You know, it's like not a lot of people are taking the time to look in somebody else's eyes or to even look at themselves in the eyes, or anything, but you're inspiring this. And one of the things that I always thought about with the eye, other than talking about the third eye being in the psychedelic space, is really just about that. Like, when you look in somebody else's eyes, you're seeing a reflection of yourself. You're able to like see a bit of like the collective, but also into somebody's soul. Like, there's just so much like magic and real connection that comes from like an intimate moment like that. And I know you're doing something a little bit different, using like a telescopic lens in order to like get a close-up on this. It's just like the whole thing about working with the eye. I think in general, like, I get your call to that. I just think that it's so needed today to bring back that connection, because it's something in so many ways that we've forgotten to do. I think it's beautiful.
We're losing connection. Everybody's like this.
Yeah.
You know, at a dinner table, people are like this. Even kids now, they're together and they're like this. No one's talking. You know, you wonder why no one knows how to like speak to somebody. Nobody has good manners. You know, I remember where I was, and there was a younger kid, like a teenager, and they wouldn't make eye contact. You're like, because they don't know how. And then all this mask wearing, what it had done to these younger kids a few years back. You know, I feel like we've lost a lot of that connection, a lot of that joy. There's so much joy in connection, as far as finding that kindred spirit, realizing that you have something in common with somebody, being able to trade something like you were talking about before. You know, like if you grow your own food, you know, being proud of what you have grown and how good you feel, being able to offer it to somebody else. And that takes connection. You know, you're not going to do that through a phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I'm curious too, you know, what are some common misconceptions when it just comes to holistic health in general, or any of the like functional medicine stuff, you know, because we were talking about this a little bit, because you're also certified in Reiki, and like, you know, as you've talked about iridology, like in this holistic, but also kind of spiritual way, you know, like with all your certificates and like me knowing you, it's like, you're not the most like, I would think about you like more functional, scientific, and, like trying to figure out what's realistic versus the more spiritual end of things. So what are like some common misconceptions? Like, is there anything that you could debunk for anybody that may be, listening to us and where we went in this conversation?
Well, I guess it depends on what they are thinking, what their misconception is. A big one is, and this is, what we do in functional medicine is rooted in science. It's not woo. And just because you can no longer find it on Google and it's been banned and censored and everything else, doesn't mean it doesn't really exist, doesn't mean it doesn't really work. It doesn't mean it's really valid. But the part of the healing component for a lot of people is the belief that they can heal. There have been people that have been diagnosed with cancer. They've gone through all the cancer treatments. Their cancer, has technically been cured, but they never believed that they could be cured. They died because they thought they were going to die, because they believed they would die. And an autopsy was done and no cancer was found in the body. I wouldn't say that that's common, but it can happen. And, if you think about the power of the mind, some of it is you have to trust your gut as far as what you feel is best for you. But regardless of what route you take, you have to have that belief that you can heal and that you can be well. And some people, if they're dealing with chronic issues, I feel like have been on that path for so long, they've lost that belief. But with functional medicine, it is rooted in science. And just because you can and maybe, I don't know what it's like in Canada, but there are things you can no longer find on the internet.
We had some laws passed where, Yeah,
so things have disappeared. So that they can't be real because you can't find them on Dr. Google, but that's not true. But ultimately, you need to, if you're going to work with somebody for anything, you need to see who you feel good around. You need to see who you trust, who you align with, who carries a similar belief system. Because if you don't trust that person, it's really, really hard to, jump on board and trust and believe that you can be well if you don't align with them.
Absolutely. And I think a big part of that too is just trusting in yourself and in your own unique, like bringing it back to that nutrition part is like not every diet fits everybody. So it's about trusting yourself to find your own unique way, to find your team, to find your place, to find your health, to find your own answers. And the censorship and all that, it's been coming for a long time. It's, seems to be getting worse. But what's really great is just like neurogenesis. It's like there's always going to be those few of us, like you and I, that are like, branching out and finding those other ways of staying connected or finding those answers. It's like a challenge that we're happy to meet and happy to rise up. So,
and food is medicine. That's something that a lot of people need to remember. Yeah. Food is medicine. Not the packaged, lifeless stuff you find in a box, but real food is medicine. And we've been taken so far away from that. And a lot of people believe that a pill is the only way to go. And, supplements are valid and they definitely have a place. And so does Big Pharma, depending on what's wrong. There are times when you need an antibiotic. There are times when you need other things. Emergency medicine is amazing. But there are also a lot of times when you need to go back to making things as simple as possible, strip out all the garbage, and really think about what the issue is. Is there an emotional component to it? Is there something that you're holding on to? You know what I mean? Have you been wounded in some way that isn't physical, that you need to kind of release, let go of, talk through, so that you can really help to unlock the healing potential inside yourself that's being blocked.
Absolutely. I think a really important question too for a lot of people, especially if it's a chronic condition, is like, what is it that you're attached to in this? Like, how is your sickness serving you in some way? If you can get to the root of that, it's going to be a lot easier to let it go. Yeah. It may still take some time because it's scary to let go. You don't know what's going to happen on the other end. But if you're sick and tired of where you are and you're sick and tired of feeling like shit, then, it might be time to do some more of that introspective work and just ask those questions. Because, chances are, like, I think it was my own mentor, he said, hope is for beggars, faith is what you actually need to get by. So you, talking about belief, the best way to build belief system is through faith in whatever it is that you're going to believe in. Otherwise, it's somebody else's belief, not really your own. To make it your own has to have that faith. The only way to really get faith is to have affirmations. How many people are actually like walking around with the affirmation, I'm sick, I have cancer, like that guy that you were using? It was a false diagnosis. I know that story. And yeah, he ended up dying from cancer. And they're like, oh man, like that wasn't even, we gave you the wrong test. But the guy, it doesn't matter. The guy's dead because he had that belief. And, not saying that that was serving him, but in some way, I just was watching a different documentary last night where the girl actually said that it really was serving her illness for that amount of time. It took a long time for her to let it go. She ended up doing ibogaine and stuff. A lot of hers had to do with dependence on different kinds of drugs and just escapism. But pharmaceutical and, these health issues are kind of the same thing when they're chronic, because it becomes something that you attach your identity to. That becomes an affirmation, that builds faith, that becomes a belief system. That means that there's a lot of reverse engineering that needs to be done in order to get to that place of allowing the body to heal itself, because you're really in your way in those moments.
Yeah. And the hard thing is, I will do everything I can to stay out of a hospital. There's plenty of people that end up in the hospital that die of malnutrition. Here, I don't know about, in Canada, but there are no nutrients in hospital food. And so when your body needs
McDonald's and Tim Hortons here, that's what you find in the hospitals. McDonald's, Tim Hortons, and then sometimes there's a cafeteria, but it's hit and miss if it's open. I spent 3 weeks in them not too long ago, not for myself, being support for others, but it was horrible. Yeah. I didn't even know how to complain.
That's what they're feeding people who are sick, who need the nutrients, who need that nutrition the most. And they're feeding them the worst food.
Mm-hmm. And everybody around them, their support system that needs to be that high energy to keep up can't.
And they're eating genetically modified garbage, fake meat. Mm-hmm. And the more I see that, the more it motivates me to be as healthy as I can, to educate others as much as I can, because nobody should be in that position. Because, if you're alone and you don't have an advocate and you're stuck there, how do you even get something of high nutrient quality for yourself? You know what I mean? That has to be brought in from the outside. Well, if nobody can bring it into you, what do you do? Yeah. And so, I just am really a really big believer in education for people who want the education to be their best advocate, because, I think we underestimate our own power.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We definitely do. And, I like how you embody that power, though. You're like, I'm going to turn all this stuff that pisses me off into a routine for my life. You're like, these are all the things that suck. Here's all the ways that I'm going to prepare myself to be better, to like overcome any of those things before it even becomes an issue for you. That is so inspiring. And
that's just, I as I learn more, I'm always like, okay, well, I'm going to implement this on myself first. Like I'm my own guinea pig. And I realized that, as I watch things decline and change over the last, 15, 20 years, I think I need this for me. And if I need this for me, how many other people need this for themselves? Because if we aren't awake and aware, we're just going to be turned into guinea pigs for big pharma. We're going to be a part of the system, and they don't want you to die right away because they can't make money on you if you're dead. Yep. But they don't want you healthy, because if you're healthy, they're not making money on you either. So, insurance doesn't cover somebody like me, of course, because I'm trying to get them out of the system, but I'm proud of the fact that, since I was, obviously unwell in my younger days and all that kind of stuff, that I've really done what I can to be as healthy as I can be. And I'm a firm believer of you pay now or you pay later. And that doesn't necessarily even mean monetarily. It's with your choices, because I either pay now, like I don't drink or anything like that, and which is, it's just my choice. I just don't like it. But by paying now and not, eating garbage food and some of those things that are, designed to be delicious, ideally, I'm not going to pay later and spend 15 years in a nursing home and have somebody have to, do things for me and have tubes and be immobile and things like that, because I'm doing, I work on balance. And that's one of the things I work on with older clients is, balance and strength training and things like that. So they're independent and mobile and climb stairs and all of these other things that are important for being independent.
Yeah. I just watched a video recently on the Ministry of Health in China, and he was on one of those like balancing bars doing like loop-de-loops. And then at the end of the meme, it showed the UK's health minister and then Canada and then the US. Oh my God, you guys, like, this is the time. You can't trust these people to take care of your health.
Not if you look at what they are. No, you want to do the opposite of what they're doing.
Look at somebody that you want to be like in those ways, figure out what it is that they're doing, and then become more in alignment with that. Like what you were saying about surrounding yourself with those kinds of people, if it means even like coming back to yourself for a little bit to figure that out, I encourage you to do that. And then branch out when you're ready. Sometimes it does take going into that cocoon for a little bit, figure your stuff out.
I did that.
Yeah,
I definitely did that. Yeah, I'm still pretty antisocial, but that's because everything revolves around food and alcohol.
Yeah.
And, I won't eat at most restaurants. Most of them don't serve bottled water. I'm not drinking tap water or that water out of a soda gun. Like, no.
Especially not where you guys are right now. You had a huge oil spill
and all.
Yeah.
I'm not touching any of that. So, I spend more money on food as far as when I'm at the grocery store. Granted, inflation and all that's out of control. But as far as buying good quality food, but I'm saving money because I'm not eating out at a restaurant. But then I know what I'm eating, and I'm eating good quality. We get our meat from a farm. We have a quarter cow on order. We're starting to grow things here, and that's never been my...
Like, let's have a barbecue, and then you're like grabbing your lettuce. This is great.
Yeah, and I have a lemon tree now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
and 2 new puppies. Like,
yes,
that was mind-blowing.
They're 11 weeks old. They're downstairs. They've been mostly quiet. Thank you, God. But they're sisters, and they're not usually quiet. So I did drug them with a little CBD.
It's the right place on this show. I think a lot of people are doing that. The pets love it. And right now it's harvest time for cannabis. So a lot of pets, I'm sure, are getting their fill with leaves and sticks and all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So like we just have a few minutes left here, but I know that exercise is a big part of what you do too. Yes, the nutrition component, you've got this like mental health and like warrior spirit about you as well, but exercise, this is a crucial component into what you do and like really who you are and in getting yourself healthy. So can we take a few minutes, just touch on that?
Sure. I love fitness, and I didn't always. It took a while for me to find that passion for being in the gym. And, part of that is, the camaraderie. I have a crew that I work out with, my lifting partner. He's quite unique. But, we work out well together. He's little. I'm 6 feet tall and he's 5'7". So it's funny. We don't look like, we would be working out together. But we motivate each other. We keep each other going. Not every day do you go in and feel 100% in the gym, but when you have somebody pushing you, when you have somebody expecting you, it makes you show up. And, our bodies were designed to move. That's part of, the rest of the health equation, because if you think about your cardiovascular system, it has, the heart moves, helps the blood move through the body, right? But our lymphatic system, which is the body's sewer system, has no pump. So the only way that moves and the only way that that drainage happens and those things that are in our lymphatics leave the body is by movement. So that's why walking is important. You know, going and getting like a rebounder or spending time on that is important. But, you know, also functional movements. You know, we squat twice a week. You know, I'm in squat racks with a big barbell behind me. You know, it's, that kind of stuff is, there's like all sorts of old videos on my Instagram with that. But, you know, it's important to move all your major muscle groups. It's important to keep your body mobile. Make sure that your shoulders keep moving. That's a lot of things that I hear from older clients is their shoulders are getting stiff, their upper body's getting tight. Stretching, things like that. I mean, it's really so important to your emotional well-being because, you know, if you leave the gym and you've had a good workout and you're not injured, I've never heard anybody say, I regret that workout. Everybody feels better afterwards. You know, even if you go in and you feel like crap, you know, go in and do something. If you go in and spend 10 minutes and you still feel like crap, okay, maybe walk on a treadmill, go for a walk outside, go home, whatever. But most people are going to be like, I'm here, I'm going to keep going. And then when you leave, I've never heard anybody say I shouldn't have done that. Never. You know, there's the physical aspect of it, but there's also such a huge emotional and mental health aspect to working out that I think a lot of people like don't really, if you've never done it, you don't know. But if you do work out, you're not in your head right now going, oh yeah, because the mental health aspect is just as big as the physical aspects. And it really is so helpful, especially when you have camaraderie and you have people that you know and you know you can go in and see those people every day. And, you know, for a long time, I lived alone. And if anything ever happened to me, those guys are the ones that would know because they're like, where's Courtney? You know? They're the ones who would know if anything ever happened to me because I lived alone. I was pretty reclusive. I don't drink. I would be studying or whatever. And, you know, there were a couple days, like if I didn't go in or whatever, I'd get a text message. Hey, you okay? I mean, that really means something to have that kind of close-knit group. And you know, you've got somebody who watches your back. And sure, it can take a little time to build that. But, you know, that kind of community is really, really important. And it's really beneficial.
Oh, yeah, I get it. That accountability piece. And, you know, you touch on a couple other things there, you know, like the move it or lose it in your body is important, you know, because you want to keep that body flexible. That's like that flexibility of the spine is what keeps you young. But also when you move it, you lose those negative emotions too. You know, that's what you're letting out. So yeah, you're moving it or losing it, or you move it to lose it, to let go of it. So on that note, Courtney, how can anybody reach you directly?
So my website would be the best way, which is missmoxiefit.com. And you can just scroll to the bottom of any of those pages and plug in your email to be connected to my email list. Or you can just go in there and you can connect to me. There's a page where you can just go in and type in, you know, whatever you want to me. I get that. I'm a one-woman show, so nobody filters through that. Nobody else sees it. So if I can answer a question, if I can be of service, I would love to hear from you. And, you know, I mean, there's plenty of ways that, you know, we could potentially work together. I could answer a question for you, you know, get you some information that you might need, whatever. I'm happy to help. That's what I'm here to do.
Thank you so much, Courtney. On that note, I'm going to do the closing here, but please stay tuned. We'll have a little chat after the show. Thank you.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options